I want you to close your eyes for a second. Well, keep them open if you're driving, obviously.
Safety first.
Right, safety first. But use your imagination here. I want you to picture a sound. It's this low electric hum,
Mm.
a buzz, like a steady zzz.
Oh, yeah.
And now, picture the visual that goes with that sound. A flickering red sign in a rainy city window.
Classic.
Yeah, maybe it says diner or open or,
Yeah.
jazz. It's got that really warm, vibrating glow. It feels vintage, right? Like you're suddenly in a detective movie from the 1940s.
It is incredibly atmospheric. I mean, that buzz and that flicker, they are so deeply embedded in our cultural memory.
Totally.
It instantly signifies nightlife, excitement, maybe even a little bit of danger. It's essentially the visual language of the city after dark.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
iconic, it's moody. But here's the twist right off the bat. And this honestly blew my mind when I started digging into the source material for today.
It's a big twist.
It really is. If you walk into a trendy coffee shop today, or you go to a wedding and you see one of those beautiful glowing signs with a couple's name, or even a hustle harder sign in a tech startup's office,
You see those everywhere now.
everywhere. But chances are you are not looking at that buzzing glass at all.
That's right. What you are seeing is likely a completely different technology masquerading as the old guard. It is what our sources call the neon evolution.
So today we are going on a deep dive into the War of the Lights. It's traditional glass neon versus the Challenger, which is modern LED neon.
It's a fascinating shift.
And look, you might be thinking, why do I care about light bulbs?
Yeah.
But if you have ever thought about putting a sign in your home office, or you're planning an event, or you just like knowing how the world works, this distinction is huge.
Absolutely.
It determines safety, it determines cost, and it really determines whether that cool art piece you bought is going to last 10 years or 10 months.
And we are drawing from some really interesting source material today. Specifically, we're looking at insights regarding this neon evolution from a company called Thart Neon and their CEO, Isik.
Right.
They've laid out the physics and the practicalities in this way that really strips away the marketing fluff and just looks at the raw engineering.
So let's unpack this. We have to start with the classic, the old guard.
Yeah.
When we say traditional neon, what are we actually talking about? Because I think I just assumed it was a colored light bulb in a tube.
A lot of people do.
But the sources imply it's much more volatile than that.
It is actually a lot more elemental. Traditional neon is quite literally chemistry in action.
Okay.
You aren't dealing with a filament like you would in an old incandescent bulb. You are taking a glass tube, heating it over an open flame until it's molten, bending it into a shape by hand, and vacuum sealing it.
By hand. That is wild.
Completely artisanal. And then you fill that vacuum with a noble gas.
Noble gas. Okay, that takes me back to high school chemistry.
Yeah.
We're talking about the far right column of the periodic table.
Precisely. And the specific gas you use determines the color. This is actually the first major misconception.
Oh.
Yeah, not all neon signs actually have neon gas in them.
Wait, really?
Really. If you see a sign that glows a vibrant, fiery red, that is true neon gas.
Okay.
But if you see a blue sign, that is usually argon. And sometimes they even mix in a tiny drop of liquid mercury to boost the brightness or change the hue.
Okay, so it's a sealed glass tube with gas and sometimes mercury just floating around inside. But gas doesn't just glow on its own. Like if I hold a balloon filled with argon, it doesn't light up the room.
Right, exactly. To get the glow, you need to excite the atoms. You have to pump electricity through that gas. But you can't just use a standard wall current.
You need more juice.
A lot more. You need a high voltage to strip the electrons and get those gas atoms to release photons, which is the actual light we see.
That is fascinating.
That is why the glass glows. It's the gas itself reacting violently to a massive electrical current.
Which totally explains the buzzing sound. It's
Yeah.
literally energy vibrating inside a glass cage.
Exactly. That hum, the technical term for it is the 60-cycle hum. It's the sound of the transformer stepping up the voltage from the wall and the energy fighting its way through the gas. It is literally the sound of electricity at work.
See, I get the appeal. There's a real romance to it. It feels handcrafted. It feels alive.
It does.
But this is where the source material throws a massive bucket of cold water on all that nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because alive also means temperamental.
It does. And this is where we start to see the cracks in the nostalgia. Pun fully intended.
Nice one.
Thank you. To make those signs, a skilled craftsperson has to heat glass and bend it by hand over a ribbon burner. It is an incredible art form, and it takes years to master. But once it's made, the final product is incredibly delicate.
And this is the reality check portion of our deep dive. The source material points out that while traditional neon is beautiful, it comes with a massive laundry list of downsides that most people don't think about until they actually own one.
Right.
First off, it's glass.
Yes.
If you bump it, it doesn't just dent, it shatters.
And when it shatters, it's not just, oops, I broke a plate. It is potentially a hazmat situation.
Because of the gas.
And the mercury. You're dealing with broken glass, obviously. But if it was a blue sign containing mercury, you now have mercury vapor in the air in your room.
Oh, wow.
And the sign is just dead. Repairing it isn't a matter of taping it back together or screwing in a new bulb.
Right, you can't just run down to the hardware store for a replacement tube.
No, absolutely not. You basically have to take the entire sign down, bring it back to a glass blower, have them carefully fuse a new piece of glass onto the old tube, repump the vacuum, and refill the gas.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It's complicated, it takes a lot of time, and it is very expensive.
And heavy. I didn't even realize this until I read the materials, but between the glass and the heavy transformers needed to step up the voltage, these things are an absolute beast to hang on a wall.
They really are. The transformers alone can weigh 10 to 20 pounds depending on the size of the sign.
Just for the transformer.
Just the transformer. So you need serious mounting hardware. You are drilling deep into studs. You aren't just putting this up with a thumbtack and some wire.
And hot. That is the other thing people forget. Because you are pushing so much sheer energy into that gas, traditional neon signs get hot to the touch. They literally radiate heat into the room.
So let's summarize the old guard here. It's beautiful. It's vintage. It has that undeniable soul.
Yeah.
But it's heavy, it's fragile, it's hot, and it consumes a ton of power. It's basically like owning a classic British sports car.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. It looks amazing on a Sunday drive, but you do not want to rely on it to get you to work every single day, and you definitely don't want to touch the engine block.
That is spot on. It is technology that was revolutionary decades ago, but in the context of modern needs, it's just impractical. And that is exactly where the Challenger enters the ring.
Enter LED neon.
Now, I have seen this stuff. From a distance, it looks almost exactly the same. But the source material says the mechanics are entirely different. How does this magic trick actually work? Because if it isn't gas, what is it?
It's a really clever bit of engineering. Instead of a hollow glass tube filled with gas, LED neon uses flexible strips of light-emitting diodes, LEDs. These are solid-state electronics. But if you just looked at the bare strip, it would look like a row of little bright dots.
Right, like those tape lights people stick under their kitchen cabinets or behind their TVs.
Exactly like those. But to make it look like neon, they encase those strips in a specialized housing, usually made of high-quality silicone or PVC.
So it's rubbery.
Yes. And this housing is the secret sauce. It acts as a diffuser. It heavily scatters the light. So instead of seeing individual little dots, the tubing blends it all together so it looks like one continuous glowing line.
That's brilliant.
It flawlessly replicates the continuous glow of traditional neon, but the underlying structure is just solid-state electronics and rubber.
And this brings us to the why. Why did the entire industry shift this way? The source lists some immediate benefits, and the first one is just literal flexibility. It physically bends.
Right. Because it is silicone or PVC, it's pliable. You can twist it, curve it, and shape it into tight corners without needing an open flame and a glass blower's lung capacity.
Which has to make manufacturing so much faster.
Exponentially faster. And it allows for intricate fonts and designs that might be way too complicated or just structurally risky for glass.
And durability. I have a clumsy streak, I'll admit it.
Yeah.
If I am carrying a traditional neon sign and I trip, I am sweeping up glass for weeks. If I drop an LED neon sign, what actually happens?
Honestly, probably nothing. It bounces.
It bounces.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend throwing it off a building, but it is highly shock resistant. The source heavily emphasizes that this durability is an absolute game changer for shipping and installation.
That reminds me of a story I heard about shipping traditional neon. They basically have to crate it up like it's a priceless museum piece, right? Layers of foam, custom wood crates, fragile stickers covering every inch of the box.
And even with all that prep, it breaks all the time. The simple vibration of a delivery truck hitting a pothole is often enough to crack the glass at the stress points.
That's agonizing.
But with LED neon, you can coil it up, put it in a standard box with some basic bubble wrap, and ship it anywhere in the world. It is incredibly robust.
That seems huge for businesses. But here is where it gets really interesting for me, and I think for you listening right now. I'm thinking about the listener who wants a neon sign in their kid's bedroom, or maybe as a backdrop at a busy wedding reception where people are dancing and drinking. The source material brings up a massive debate, and that is safety.
This is arguably the most critical distinction we're going to talk about today. We touched on this earlier, but we need to connect it to the bigger picture. Traditional neon requires high voltage transformers. We are talking about thousands of volts just to get that gas to ignite.
Thousands. Like how many thousands are we talking?
Anywhere from 2,000 to 15,000 volts.
Whoa. Okay. And a standard wall outlet in a house is what, 110?
Great, 110 or 120. So you are stepping up that power massively. And high voltage creates a lot of heat. It creates a severe electrical hazard if the sign is ever damaged or mishandled. It is a legitimate burn risk.
That is terrifying.
If a glass tube breaks and the power is still switched on, you literally have an open, high-voltage electrical arc. That is incredibly dangerous.
So putting a traditional glass neon sign in a toddler's room is probably not the best move.
I would strongly advise against it, and that is exactly the point the source highlights. LED neon, on the other hand, operates on low voltage, usually just 12 or 24 volts.
That's nothing.
It uses a simple standard power adapter, very similar to the one you use to charge your laptop.
And the heat factor. You said the glass ones get hot.
Negligible. LED neon stays completely cool to the touch. You can literally wrap your hand tightly around it while it's turned on. You can press your face against it. Not that you should, but you safely could.
See, that changes everything. That's why you see these signs at weddings now, right behind the bride and groom, or in a crowded photo booth where people are constantly leaning against the props. If that were old school glass, someone's veil catching fire or a guest getting a nasty burn would be a very real possibility.
Exactly. The low voltage and low heat profile open up entirely new environments where traditional neon was just way too risky to justify. Bedrooms, nurseries, crowded events, tight pop-up shops. You don't have to worry about a guest or your cat getting hurt.
Don't burn the cat is a pretty good rule of thumb for home decor, I think.
I think that is a universal design principle we can all get behind.
So we've got the safety angle covered. Now let's talk about the wallet, the economics of it all. Because as we know, electricity isn't free.
This connects directly back to efficiency. Imagine the always-on scenario. Let's say you run a local cafe or a recording studio, or you just really love the vibe of your living room sign and you want it glowing for 10, 12 hours a day.
I'm doing the math in my head right now, and I can just hear my electric meter spinning out of control.
Well, with traditional neon, that meter is spinning pretty fast. It is very energy hungry because you are constantly pushing high voltage just to keep that gas in an excited state. But LED is incredibly efficient. It uses a tiny fraction of the power to produce the exact same amount of ambient light.
Really? How much of a fraction?
We are talking 80 to 90% more efficient than glass neon.
80 to 90%. So massively lower monthly bills.
Significantly lower. And then there is the longevity aspect. We mentioned the fragility of the glass, but there's also the ongoing maintenance of the gas itself. Over time, traditional neon can start to fade, or it will flicker as the gas degrades or micro-leaks out of the seals.
Oh, so it doesn't even stay bright forever.
No. It has a functional lifespan of maybe 10,000 to 20,000 hours before it desperately needs service. LED neon generally has a much, much longer lifespan, 50,000 hours or more with practically zero maintenance. You don't have to refill it. You don't have to baby it. You just turn it on.
There is a quote in the source material from Isaac, the CEO of Third Neon, that I think really sums up this entire shift in mindset perfectly. He says, "Modern neon should be beautiful, but also practical. Light should enhance a space, not create risk."
That is a very powerful statement because it marks a fundamental philosophical shift in interior design. We are moving away from decorative nostalgia, where we just accept that art is fragile and highly demanding, to a focus on functional design.
Functional design. I really like that framing. It's art that works for you, not art that you have to constantly babysit.
Precisely. It is acknowledging that we still want the aesthetic, we crave the mood it creates, but we simply don't want the dangerous baggage that comes with 100-year-old technology.
Let's talk about the creative side for a second, though. We know LED is objectively safer and cheaper to run, but can it actually look better? Or at least, can it do things that the old glass physically can't?
It absolutely can. The source points out a few key design capabilities where LED really outshines the original. One major one is simply dimming.
Oh, right. Can you even dim traditional neon? I don't think I've ever seen a dim glass sign.
It is surprisingly difficult and expensive to do. You need specialized, pricey transformers. And even then, sometimes when you lower the voltage, the gas starts to flicker unsteadily or swirl weirdly inside the tube. It is almost never a smooth, clean fade.
But LED is different.
LED is digital. You can have a simple remote or an app on your phone, and you can control the brightness perfectly. You can drop it to 10% for a nightlight or blast it at 100% for a party. And you can change colors instantly with RGB options.
So I can literally go from party mode in bright pink to chill mode in soft blue with the exact same sign.
Exactly. And because the whole unit is lightweight and doesn't require those massive, heavy transformers, you can mount it almost anywhere. You can hang it from a ceiling with fishing line. You can stick it to a temporary backdrop with command strips in some cases. It just doesn't need heavy structural reinforcement.
That opens up so many possibilities. I mean, think about renters. You can't drill giant permanent holes in your apartment wall for a 50-pound glass sign, but you can definitely hang a 3-pound LED sign without losing your security deposit.
Exactly. It completely democratizes the aesthetic. It makes it accessible to everyone, not just commercial storefronts.
But I have to play devil's advocate for just a second here. Is there any reason at all to still buy traditional glass neon? Or is it just completely obsolete at this point?
That is an important question, and the source material actually clarifies this. They aren't saying traditional neon is completely dead. If you are an architect designing a strictly retro speakeasy, or restoring a historic theater, or putting a piece in a museum where absolute historical accuracy is paramount, glass still has a very specific artistic value.
It's the authentic relic.
Right. It has a certain visual depth and a slightly different quality of light that absolute purists still love. Also, practically speaking, glass tubes emit light in a full 360 degrees. LED neon is usually mounted inside a silicone channel on a backing board, so it primarily projects light forward, like 180 degrees.
Got it. So if I'm building a 1950s diner replica for a movie set, and I want it to be perfectly camera accurate from every single angle, maybe I go with glass.
Maybe. But you do it knowing all the risks and the astronomical costs involved. It is a very niche choice now. It really is about using the right tool for the job.
But the verdict from the source for the average person is pretty clear.
It is. For homes, for modern businesses, for events, for quite literally 99% of use cases, LED is the smarter choice. It consistently delivers the glow without any of the downsides.
It's the evolution. It's taking the very best part of the past, which is the look and the feel, and totally upgrading the engine under the hood.
And that is exactly what happens with all good technology. We keep the core utility, in this case, the light and the signal, and we relentlessly improve the delivery mechanism. I mean, we move from open flame candles to gas lamps to incandescent bulbs to LEDs. This shift in neon is just the logical next step in that exact same progression.
So let's wrap this up. If you have been listening to this deep dive and wondering which way to go for your own space, here is the summary.
Traditional neon is glass tubes, noble gas, high voltage, highly fragile, hot to the touch, and expensive to run. It is best for hardcore vintage enthusiasts who really do not mind the high maintenance and the physical risk.
And modern LED neon is flexible silicone, solid-state LEDs, low voltage, highly durable, cool to the touch, and energy efficient. And it's best for literally everyone else. Homes, weddings, modern offices, kids' rooms, you name it.
And again, this entire perspective really comes from the core ethos of Dart Neon. Their whole foundation is built on this safe, durable, energy-efficient design philosophy.
I really love that final sentiment from Isak again. Light should inspire, but it should also last. It is such a simple, beautiful concept, but I feel like we often totally forget about durability when we buy pretty things.
We do. We get completely caught up in the immediate emotion of the purchase, and we don't think about the years of ownership ahead. We don't think about the day we inevitably have to move it to a new house, or the day a kid accidentally throws a ball in the living room.
Okay, here is where we leave you with something to really chew on. We have been talking a lot about how LED is technically a simulation of neon. It mimics the original look. And culturally, we usually think of the original as inherently better, and the simulation is somehow cheap or fake. We absolutely obsess over authenticity.
Right, we always want real wood floors, real leather jackets.
Exactly. But in this specific case, the simulation, the LED version, is objectively better in almost every single measurable way. It is safer, it lasts longer, it's cheaper to run, it is way more flexible.
It raises a really fascinating question. At what point does authenticity actually become a liability? When does clinging to the real thing, like incredibly dangerous, high voltage, fragile glass, actually hold us back from enjoying the art?
Maybe the fake version is actually the truest expression of what the art was supposed to be all along. Just pure, beautiful light without any of the danger. Maybe the glass was just the clumsy container we were stuck with until we finally invented something better.
That is a very provocative thought. When the copy vastly surpasses the original, does the original just become a museum piece?
Something to think about the next time you see a glowing sign in a coffee shop window. Is it gas? It says LED.
Mm.
And really, does it even matter as long as it lights up the dark? Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.